The second generation of the Ford Kuga has now received a facelift. That means it has sharper looks, a tweaked design, and it also has a front grille inspired by its bigger brother, the Ford Edge. But is it still able to keep up with its competitors? Well, let's find out. So this is the ST line model, which is the sportier model. So you get Sporty body kit, 18-inch alloys, dark roof rails, and you also get black tips on the exhausts. And it looks rather good. Now this particular model has been finished in shadow black, which makes the car look rather mean and aggressive, but it will cost you £545 extra. Also optional are the tinted windows, which again make the car look rather mean, but they will cost you £225. Now the outside may look pretty good, but I'm afraid the same cannot be said for the inside. Yes, you do get sporty touches such as scuff plates, sports pedals and sports seats, but I'm afraid the centre console has got too many buttons on it for me, and the actual material surrounding the controls are rather cheap and flimsy, which is quite disappointing given the car's asking price. On the plus side, there are some decent areas for storage, although I will say that the small tray in the centre armrest does get in the way when you're trying to plug in a USB cable, which is rather annoying. So the Kuga starts from £21,895, and this will give you the Z-Tech model. This gives you 17-inch alloys, cruise control, manual air conditioning, leather steering wheel, Ford sync system and halogen headlights. You can of course go to the other end of the spectrum and buy the range topping Vignale model, which is priced from £31,045. This offers leather seats and a leather dashboard, heated front seats, bi-xenon headlights, hands-free tailgate and Ford Sync 3 system, which has got a 9-speaker Sony system. This is the ST line model, which is one of the mid-range models, and it's priced from £26,945. This offers electric windows all round, automatic lights and wipers, cruise control with speed limiter. You get the Ford Sync 3 system, which has navigation, Bluetooth, DAB radio and smartphone integration. You also get dual zone climate control, power tailgate, front and rear parking sensors and park assist. This particular model has got the upgraded Ford Sync 3 system though. That means you get 3D rendering on the maps, you also get a rear facing camera and you also get the 9-speaker Sony system. The front of the Kuga is a comfortable place to be, and because this is the ST line model, it means that you get these sports seats which are trimmed in leather and a kind of Alcantara material, and I must say they are quite comfortable to sit in, but when you're pressing the car hard, the side bolsters could do with a bit more support. But in regards to getting a good driving position, that is rather easy. The steering wheel adjusts for rake and reach, and the seat has got a good level of adjustment as well, so I've got no complaints there. Although I will just say that the steering column is a little bit thick, so even when my seat is at its lowest, I find that when I get out the car I sometimes bang my left knee, but obviously that won't be the same problem for everyone. But in regards to headroom, as you would expect from an SUV, it's pretty good. So the room in the front of the Kuga is pretty good, but what's it like in the back? So step inside the Kuga and you'll find that there's a good level of room back here. As always, the driver's seat has been altered for my 6'2" frame, but even so, there's a good level of leg room back here and the headroom is pretty decent as well. Plus, the rear seats recline, so at the pull of a lever, like so, you can sit back and relax. So the space back here is pretty good, although this middle seat is quite slim, so I don't know whether you're going to be able to fit 3 adults in the back of here, but definitely 2 adults should be able to get comfortable in the back of the Kuga with no problems. So open up the power tailgate of the Kuga, like so, and you are greeted with 406 litres of room, which is by no means outstanding, but it's not too bad either. But it's worth noting that cars such as the Mazda CX-5 and the Seat Ateca can offer you an extra 100 litres. But on the plus side, the loading area itself is nice and wide, there's no lip on the opening, and the loading area itself is quite flat. So loading big heavy items into the Kuga should come with minimal fuss. But if you do need extra room, you can of course fold down the 60/40 seats to give you an increased capacity of 1,603 litres. So with it being an ST line model, you don't get any extra performance, it's all about the looks. But speaking of performance, let me talk you through the engine. So the model tested here has got the 1.5 litre EcoBoost petrol engine, which produces 148 brake horsepower with 240 Nm of torque. It's mated to a 6-speed manual gearbox, which I have to say is really delightful to use, but how fast does it go? In regards to performance, it will hit 62 miles per hour in 9.7 seconds and a top speed of 121 miles per hour. And I have to say, it does feel rather nippy. The car pulls well, but most buyers will opt for the diesel engines anyway, which will offer more torque. But this 1.5 litre EcoBoost doesn't do a bad job by any means. And I have to say, it's a pretty decent engine. Mind you, like the Mondeo ST line I tested a few weeks ago, the Kuga ST line does have a bit of a problem. Torque steer. It's nice and quiet here, so I'm not going to run into anyone or anything, hopefully. Pop it into first gear, disengage the parking brake like so. Right, get it on the straight and narrow. Okay, so, right, foot hard down. Whee! There's a torque steer. Yeah, and it's fairly aggressive, so that's something to bear in mind when you're driving the car. Now, I must be honest, when you're driving it normally, you won't have any problems like that, but because this is a sportier model, I imagine the buyers will want to drive it a bit more hard. So if you are thinking about driving the ST line hard, just bear that in mind. Now, this isn't the most powerful unit you can get. If you're after performance and some power, I'd recommend getting the 2 litre diesel, which offers 178 brake horsepower. But what if you fancy a bit of economy? Well, in which case, your best bet is the 1.5 litre diesel, which offers 118 brake horsepower, which I know isn't a great deal of power, but it does mean that you get 64.2 miles to the gallon on a combined run, and CO2 comes in at 108 grams per kilometre. Now, if you want an automatic gearbox, you can of course have one of those, but the cheapest option in the ST line trim will cost you £29,645, and you'll need to pay £1,000 more than that if you want four-wheel drive. So this model I'm driving now is front-wheel drive, so I haven't got that extra grip, but in all honesty, how many people really take their SUVs off-road? So it's not too much of an issue for me, or for most buyers, I would have thought. So with it being the ST line model, you do get sport suspension. So that means that the car has been dropped by 10mm to make it feel sportier and to give better handling. And in all honesty, the handling doesn't feel fantastic. There's still a fair bit of body roll in the corners. Okay, it's not quite going to lean onto its door handles, but the handling isn't quite as good as I expected. And because it has got the sport suspension, the ride is quite bumpy, as you would expect. Now, when you're at speed, so I'm doing 40 at the moment, it's not too bad, but at lower speeds it is quite bumpy, and I have to say it is rather annoying, especially as, for me personally, it doesn't really add anything in regards to the handling. The steering is also heavier, and I have to say it does feel pretty good. Oh look, another Kuga friend, yay! The steering has got a nice weight to it, it feels quite meaty. It's not the most precise steering, but it's not too bad either, and it doesn't offer the greatest amount of feedback, but I do like the weight of it. The weight is satisfying, if I'm going to be completely honest. The gear change is slick, it's smooth. I like the way how it's mounted up higher, so it means you've got better ergonomics, you've got better ease of use, and you can really throw it through the gears really well. And in regards to the ergonomics, it is pretty good. However, there is a caveat with that. This Ford Sync 3 system is very good and all, but it's kind of inset into the dash. So when you're trying to reach for buttons, it is rather awkward, because not only do you have to sort of go in and go down to press things, which is rather annoying, if I'm going to be completely honest. And I must say these seats are very nice, but as I said earlier when I spoke about space and comfort, one thing I find disappointing is that when you're really pushing for the car in corners, you just feel like they don't really hold you in place that much. Now, in regards to refinement, the engine is pretty nice and smooth. It's quiet at normal driving, but because this car has got the bigger alloys, so this has got 18-inch rims instead of the standard 17 that you get in the ZTEC model, the tyre noise is quite audible, in all honesty, and on the motorway, as you can predict with it being a tall SUV, the wind noise isn't fantastic either. But on the plus side, these seats are comfortable, and I can see no reason why you can't drive this for long distances without becoming too tired. But as you can probably hear now, that tyre noise is rather loud, it's rather audible. So it's something to bear in mind if you're looking for refinement. So in regards to economy, I have a 1.5 litre EcoBoost petrol, so it's not quite as frugal as a diesel engine, but it's not overly bad in all honesty. Now it offers 45.6 miles to the gallon, and in my experience I was able to get around 37 miles to the gallon, which is not too bad. It's not too far off official figures. The official combined MPG figure, it's one better than the equivalent petrol in the Seat Ateca, and it's also one better than the equivalent petrol in the Mazda CX-5. But in regards to CO2, that's where things become a little bit different. Now, this produces 143 grams per kilometre of CO2, whereas the equivalent CX-5 has 149 grams per kilometre, and the Seat Ateca, the equivalent Seat Ateca, offers 129 grams per kilometre. So if you're looking for a greener engine, your best bet would be to get the Ateca, but this is still better than the Mazda CX-5. So if you do choose to have this 1.5 litre EcoBoost engine, for the first year of road tax you'll be looking at £200, and then you'll be looking at £140 each year thereafter. So, the Ford Kuga ST line, it's by no means a bad car, but it's not quite on par with its competitors, plus the inside plastics are rather cheap, and I think the car itself is priced a little bit too highly. Personally, I would recommend the Zetec over titanium trims, because they will offer you a better ride, but even so, I still think cars such as the Seat Ateca are probably a better bet for your money. I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. If you did, give it a thumbs up, and please subscribe for more Car Obsession.